The semantics of derived lexemes. When somebody makes up a word, they are inventing it in a certain particular circumstances, right? So sometimes these circumstances are very peculiar. Let's look at the following sentence. Joe was houdinied and died. Obviously houdinied is a proper noun, but here it is used as a verb. Mean putting punch into the stomach, right? So he put punch into stomach, he punched himself and died. So the second factor that is very important for distinguishing words and their meaning is the history of the word. We might think of every lexeme not just as a word and meaning, but as the word, and every time it has been ever used. Every time we hear the word, we revise its lexical entry in somewhere when we heard that word. So many of us can recall when they heard the word for the first time, or where they read the word for the first time. So these things go together: the circumstances in which a certain word was coined and the history when the certain word was first time listened by a particular individual. This indeed goes on is particularly evident from first language acquisition research. The way a child learns. So when they learn in the early stage, they have different meaning. They denote different objects to refer to with that certain word. So we can say that children, during their process of learning a language, acquiring a language, right, they either underextend or they overextend, right? So we can see a child might underextend the word dog. He will refer to the word dog to certain others breeds of the dog, but not all the breeds which he might have not seen. For example, varieties like Chow or Pekingese cannot be can referred to by the child as dog. Similarly, he takes a word tree and overextend it every time he sees or she sees something like tree, or that seems to him or her as tree. So this is a very common example among children while learning their first language. But as they grow up, they stop doing this. So such under and over extensions are generally short-lived, which indicates that children revise lexical entries as they are exposed to more and more tokens of a word. It is not unreasonable to think that the meaning of a word is a compilation of every single use of that word. So it's not unreasonable. We keep on learning meaning the way it has been used in different times. Every word has a history. It has your own personal history. How you have heard that word, it has the history of the word as it has been used by other people. So we look at the etymology or the words, and we find that in a certain period of time this word has this certain meaning, and as a result of passing of time, the meaning has changed. Over time, the meanings of word can become more complex and diverse, making the task of the morphologist looking for semantic patterns of word formation more complicated than it would be if the semantics of the word formation were purely compositional. Composition, the way we compose the structure of a sentence, because there is no intrinsic relationship between the signifier and the signified. So the word, as a result of history, has changed different shades of meaning. So for the morphologist, things become very difficult. A syntactic construction may have pragmatics to deal with, but it does not have history. Obviously, there are certain layers of the meaning, underlying layers of the meaning of a sentence. For example, open the book. It may be an order, it may be a request, right? So it has certain pragmatics to its structure, but the word has gone through different periods, so it has different meaning at different times. So they are difficult for the morphologist to deal with all these things. So one question you might want to ask, that what kind of meaning arise via lexeme-formation rules? Are derived forms like lexemes with potentially very complicated meaning? I mean, the lexeme that we derive have some complicated meaning. So, or are they like syntactic collocations with simple meaning? And they have syntactic collocation, they have been used together. They come with certain other units, and it is a common practice of certain units to be combined with certain other units. So these are some of the problems. So there is a problem somehow with the derived lexeme when we talk about their meanings.